Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study of the entire Bible. Currently, we are in Job chapter 25. Now, this will probably be a little extended period. I'm going to see how it goes because there's going to be a short response by Job's friend, and then the rest from this point on, from chapters 26 to 32, is going to be Job's discourse. I'm going to try to get through all of that in this study. We'll see. Um, all right, so let's get on with this. Um, Very interesting, again, thoughts here how Job's friends are continually trying to get him to confess that he is evil, that he did something bad. In other words, if you were a good person, Job, this wouldn't have happened to you. And that's kind of been their argument. First one says, Then Bildad the Shunammite replied, Dominion and dread belongs to him, the one who established harmony in the heavens. Can his troops be numbered? Does his light not shine on everyone? Can a person be justified before God? So remember, he is asking this question without knowledge. You know, the answer is yes if you follow God's righteousness. He's trying to say to Job, however, and of course, actually, you could even say no. You can answer this question in both ways, yes and no. You can be justified before God if you follow God's way. You're not going to be justified by God in your own standard, in your own eyes. This is what he is accusing Job of. He says, How can one born of a woman be pure, even if the moon does not shine and the stars are not pure in his sight? How much less man, who is a maggot, and the son of man, who is a worm? Now, I kind of mentioned this last time that there are people who, in their intellectual thinking, think that the creation, man, is kind of less than. And this is a human kind of perception here. The Bible says God so loved the world. Now think about that. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So think about the value there. That God's value of man was to give his son the very best he could ever give for a man. Now compare that with this here. All right. Chapter 26, verse 1. Then Job answered, How have you helped the powerless and delivered the arm that is weak? How have you counseled the unwise and thoroughly explained the path to success? Who did you speak these words to, whose breath came out of your mouth? Now, this is a great clapback of Job. They've been hammering him. And you remember they start off by saying, Job, you know, the criticism was, you have done these things. You've helped the people. You've strengthened the needy. But when, you know, adversity hits you, you fall apart. And then they degraded into just really berating his character, basically calling him evil. So this is a great clapback. He says, what have you done? Now we also know by God's testimony that Job was the most righteous man on the planet at this time. Okay, but this is a great clapback. You know, he's telling his thing. Well, what have you done that? Verse 5. The parted spirits tremble beneath the waters and all that inhabit them. Sheol is naked before God. And abandon has no covering. Now, Sheol is the grave, and abandon, this word abandon, is kind of a Hebrew word for kind of the place of the departed spirits, and probably that of the angels or fallen angels. But the departed It's a place of departed also. It's a place of departed, I would say spirit, it basically says here. Now Sheol is the grave. That's what okay, verse 7. He stretches the northern skies over empty spaces. He hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps up the waters in his clouds. Yet the clouds do not burst underneath the weight. He obscures the view of his throne, spreading his cloud over it. Now, kind of what is interesting, we kind of get a little more meteorology. We got the science of meteorology. We know a little more from Job's perspective. Remember, he's looking during that time without the science of meteorology. Verse 10, he lay out the horizon on the surface of the waters, and the boundaries between the light and darkness. The pillars that uphold the skies tremble, astonished at his rebuke. By his power he stirred the sea. By his understanding he crushed Rahab. By his breath the heavens gained the beauty, and his hands pierced the fleeing serpent. These are but the fringes of his ways. How faint is his word we hear of him. Who can understand his mighty thunder? Chapter 27, verse 1, Job continued his discourse saying, as God lives, as God lives, who has deprived me of justice, and the Almighty, who has made me bitter. Now, these two words, justice and bitter, his statement about bitter is correct. God had made his life bitter, right? He's allowed Satan to destroy his life. But the justice part, that's where he's going to get into trouble, we're going to see later. Verse 3, as long as my breath is still in me, and the breath from God remains in my nostrils, my lips will not speak unjustly, and my tongue will not utter deceit. I will never affirm that you are right. I will maintain my integrity until I die. Now, when people make arguments against you, and in their case, his friends, they're making pure arguments without knowledge. Then they get to the place where they get frustrated with him, and then they start insulting him. So he is right to say, I will never affirm that you are right, because you're not. Verse 6, I will cling to my righteousness and never let go. My conscience will not accuse me as long as I live. Now, God is going to call him on the carpet for this. Because basically what he is, in his estimate, that he is so righteous that God has no right to do this. And that's what God is going to challenge him on. Verse 7, may my enemies be like the wicked, and my opponents like the unjust. For what hope does the godless man have when he is cut off, when God takes away his life? Will God hear his cry when distress comes upon him? Will he delight in the Almighty? Will he call upon God at all times? I will teach you about God's power. I will not conceal what the Almighty has planned. All of you have seen this for yourselves. Why do you keep up this empty talk? Now, and Job is right. Their talk is empty because they have no basis of knowledge. This is the wicked man's lot from God. The inheritance of the ruthless received from the Almighty. Even if his children increase, they are destined for the sword. His descendants will never have enough food. Those who survive him will be buried by the plague. Yet the widows will not weep for them. Though he piles up silver like dust and heaps up a wardrobe like clay, he may heap it up. But the righteous will wear it, and the innocent will divide up his silver. The house he built is like a moss cocoon, or a booth set up by a watchman. He lies down wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, it is gone. Terror overtakes him like a flood. A storm wind sweeps him away in the night. The east wind picks up, and he is gone. It carries him away from his place. It blasts him without mercy, and when he flees desperately from its grasp, it claps its hands upon him. It scorns him from his place. Now I'm reading this quickly because, again, one, this is kind of Job's, remember, perspective, okay, from his anguish, but also from his human perspective, okay. Job himself has suffered in the same way, but not because he was wicked, okay. So chapter 28, verse 1, surely there is a mine for silver in the place where gold is refined, iron is taken from the ground, and copper is smelted from ores. A miner puts an end to the darkness. He probes the deepest recess for ores in the gloomy darkness. He cut a shaft from human habitations, its places unknown to those who walk above the ground, suspended far away from the people. The miners swing back and forth. Food may come from the earth, but below the surface, the earth is transformed as by fire. Kind of interesting. How would he know that? Only by revelation. Its rocks are a source of sapphire containing flecks of gold. No birds of prey know that path. No falcon's eyes have seen it. Proud beasts have never walked on it. No lion hath ever prowled over it. The miners strike the flint. The transformers, the mountains at their foundations. He cuts out channels in their rocks, and his eyes spot every treasures. He dam up the streams from flowing, so they may bring what is hidden. Bring to light what is hidden. But where can wisdom be found? And where is understanding located? Now, this is a very interesting question here. Where can wisdom be found? Verse 13. No man knoweth its value, since it cannot be found in the land of the living. The ocean depths say, it is not in me, while the seas declare, I don't have it. Gold cannot be exchanged for it, and silver cannot be weighed out for its price. Now, later in the book of Proverbs, we will see a lot of this language. And Proverbs itself, so explanation. Verse 15, gold cannot be exchanged for it, silver cannot be weighed out for its price. Wisdom cannot be valued in gold of Ophir. It's precious onyx and sapphire. Gold and glass do not compare with it. And the article of fine gold cannot be exchanged for it. Coral and quartz are not worth mentioning. The price of wisdom is beyond pearls. Topaz and cush cannot compare with it, and it cannot be valued in pure gold. Where then does wisdom come from, and where is understanding located? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing, and concealed from the birds of the sky. Abandon and death say, we have heard the news with our ears, but God understands the way to wisdom, and he knows its location. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When God fixed the weight of the wind and limited the water by measure, and when he established the limit for the rain and the path for the lightning, he considers wisdom and values it. He established it and examines it. He says to mankind, the fear of the Lord is this, wisdom. And to turn from evil is understanding. Now we will see this in the book of Psalms as well as Proverbs. Notice he says the fear of the Lord. Now this is kind of interesting when you think about the philosophy or philosophers of today, Greek philosophers, wisdom, how they view wisdom. When you think about the critical thinkers, apologists, okay, all these things today, and how they kind of speak. They do speak with, as James said, a human devilish wisdom. But what is interesting is that they do not speak true, wise wisdom. Why? Because the very first thing is, he says, the fear of the Lord, this is wisdom. or the fear, as Proverbs will say, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then he said, and to turn from evil is understanding. Now, this right here is probably one of the greatest parts of wisdom, of understanding you can get. Now, let me just say this too. I think I was going to be done with it, but I'm not. I'm gonna linger here because this is extremely important here. Because I want to comment on something that. Look at this statement right here. The fear of the Lord is wisdom. Okay? The fear of the Lord is wisdom. Okay? Okay. What does this mean here? And I mean this from an application perspective, how we deal with applications right here. Well, what does this mean? Okay? The fear of the Lord is wisdom. One of the things that I think is problematic in how we deal with life, especially our lives today. Okay, our lives today. Psychology, sociology, all of these things, you know why they're wrong? I'm going to make a statement. How today many people seek therapists. So from a disclaiming standpoint, and I'm going to be very careful here. And I'm going to tell you why I'm being careful, because YouTube will flag me if I make certain statements. Okay? And trust me, there are people out there that I don't know some kind of way, but so I got to say this in a certain way because they will take the video off, and I've been flagged for certain things and I've had to fight to get them back on. But the yeah, the fear of the Lord is wisdom. That is my rock. When people ask me about anything else, how to cope through life, the fear of the Lord is that. And one of the things about some of the wisdom of man, okay, the science of man, the science of mind, the science of emotion, and how they establish themselves. Okay? The problem is that they cannot solve man's problem because man is sinful. And one of the things here is that if you want to help man, you have to start with the fear of the Lord is wisdom. That's where you start at. Not on a couch. Just because you want to talk. Because that, in essence, that doesn't help you. It doesn't change you. So the fear of the Lord, and that's what fear here, you could translate it as respect, reverence, not terror. He's not talking about terror. So oftentimes people seek counsel on a couch instead of the fear of the Lord. Okay? Now, like I say, I had to be careful because in our culture here, and since I'm relegated to this platform, then that's the game, okay? And they will flag you for certain things. They will flag you if you go too far out. So that's so you understand that. So the fear of the Lord is wisdom. The fear of the Lord is also the solution because it brings wisdom. All right, guys, we'll pick this up in the next study. And yeah, we just picked this up in the next study. I was going to try to get through all of Job's discourse, but we'll get to it next time. And then see where it goes from there. All right, guys, see you in the next study. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought, a comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Look, till next time, I'll see you then.